I'm Grover Silcox. Welcome to Boundless, where we give voice to Good Shepherd Rehabilitation's patients and their families. You'll hear the compelling real-life stories of folks who have braved the trials, triumphs, and tribulations of rehabilitation and the boundless possibilities that lie on the other side of that journey. Please welcome my guest today, Sarah Yaklic, who is a patient with Good Shepherd and has been for some time. Welcome, Sarah. And you suffered, 3 years ago, a spinal cord injury. Tell us a little bit about that and what life was like before the injury and what life was like afterwards.
Sure. So I remember just a few days before my neck surgery, I was out with my godfather and we were hiking Hawk Mountain, just loving life, free, full of energy, free use of just my body and being able to move in any direction I wanted and just really loving that. I went in for surgery and woke up and not being able to walk, feel my right foot. And I just will never forget when I left the hospital. My family dropped me off at the inpatient rehab hospital at Good Shepherd. I remember that night just being scared because I had no idea what had happened. I thought the thing that was going to hold me down was, trying to slow down and not move around too much post-surgery. I didn't know that my body was not going to be able to move as freely as I once was able to.
Right. And as you alluded, you're quite a physical person, very active. That's at least, that's what it seems like,
no,
right?
I did. I played tennis, even just moving around, walking, running, just enjoying. I was a dancer from when I was young. I played soccer, I cheered. So activity, physical movement was always something that I just cherished and was naturally part of who I was.
Right,
and
very
so
instinctive.
Not to be able to was such a flip in kind of even who I became as a person. My whole center of who I was suddenly was not who I was,
Right. How old were you when you had the spinal cord injury?
So I had just turned 40 a couple months prior to that.
And so much ahead of you.
Yes.
You're not ready for being limited by anything.
No. And I think that's what, to me, was part of the struggle was just not knowing what was ahead. I literally thought I was going home when I left the hospital. That was the plan, right? And then suddenly I'm inpatient at a rehab center in a wheelchair, not being able to walk, 100, meters down the hallway without that assistance. And so my whole personhood was just, in that moment, it felt very challenged and just very scared and unaware of what the future was to be.
Right. Life turns on a dime like that. It's just amazing. And that can happen to any one of us at any time. And so you're alluding in a way to not only the physical limitations, but the emotional effects that something like this has on a person.
Sure. No, and it's so true. It's especially everything that I've witnessed, not only during those weeks when I was inpatient, but what I see on a weekly basis at Good Shepherd. I see so many people who are intensely suffering, and I watch them work so hard with their therapist. There is perseverance and there is dedication, there's frustration, there's hope, there's all those things that are mixed up, but that's a lot of emotional weight. And sometimes I think we forget, that part of the recovery. And that's what Good Shepherd for me has done, is they've really lifted me up and created an environment where I felt loved and stretched and understood.
Mm-hmm. It really goes to the heart of the personal relationship between a patient and therapists or doctors, those medical folks in our lives.
Oh, forever, Dr. Singh, Hazel, Leanne, all the amazing people at Good Shepherd will forever be part of my story, like my whole story when I look back at life, hopefully many decades, from now, and I get to look back at all things. But such advocates they have been, and giving it of themselves. I remember the one day I was sitting and I was working in the parallel bars with Hazel, and I kind of had tears in my eyes. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, every day I wake up and I look out my window and I see my car there." And here I was, being able to run errands, do whatever. And I said, Hazel, I haven't driven in months now. I'm gonna sell it because I can't stand looking at it. And she grabbed my hands and she said, you're not selling your car. She said, we're gonna get you in our car rehabilitation program, and we're gonna get you driving with your left foot. And suddenly now I could run errands. I could help my family. I could drive to Florida. I could do all those things because my therapist believed in me and said, wait, it doesn't have to stop here. Maybe it's going to be different than it was before, but you could still do this.
Right. You're like reaching milestones in terms of what you feel you can do.
Yes.
And so you're thinking, I'm never going to drive again.
Yeah.
And then suddenly that possibility opens up. And in fact, you make it happen.
Yeah. Because of the help, of the people that supported me and my family walking that journey with me. Like recovery is not something you do on an island by yourself. And it's not something that happens overnight. And sometimes there are moments when you hit these plateaus and you think, I'm never going to get further. There are some days when you surprise yourself when you say, wow, my body has done amazing things in this process. But you're never by yourself.
So when you first started rehab at Good Shepherd, is there an evaluation process to see just, what you're capable of and sort of set the agenda?
Oh, for sure. And I think that's one thing, even though sometimes, I'll be honest, my evaluation days that I still have now, sometimes I get a little bit nervous because I'm a goal setter and I want to beat the record from the evaluation before. But no, from the outset, there is an evaluation and there is goal setting. And it's not only about what your body, what you want your body to do, but also what is your goal? What is your overall goal? And where could we move to the next step?
Right after your injury, were you in a wheelchair? How did you get around? How were you mobile?
Yeah. So I was pretty. I'm not where I am today. I spent time in a wheelchair, and then progressed to use of a walker, then to the use of 2 walking aids, down to 1 walking stick. So it was very much a slow and steady process.
And even to this day, you continue a certain amount of therapy.
Yeah, I'm at Good Shepherd about 2 days a week, and it really is amazing. I was thinking about it. I was actually there this morning, and I was thinking about back to some of the first things I did versus what I'm doing now. And what I love is that Hazel will push me. She knows that I want to keep doing better, And so there are times when she's had to stop me and say, okay, slow down. We have to do this in the right progression. But she knows that I just want to keep improving as best as my body is going to allow the improvements to happen. And so what I'm doing now is completely different from what I did, almost 3 years ago. And thankfully, that's the case because now I could look back with gratitude and say, even when this journey has been really hard, there are so many things that I could stand solidly and confidently and say I'm living in a life of gratitude because of the journey.
Right. And I should say that we did a story together, in 2022, at that time when you were using a cane and you were in the adaptive driving course at Good Shepherd.
Correct.
And I was very impressed by your energy and your determination and how well you were doing with your instructor at the time. And now I think I'm seeing you now a couple of years later, and it looks like you've made even more improvements.
Yeah. Oh, no, I've made so many more improvements. And I think, physically, I'm so delighted that I could hold my camera when I'm working with 2 hands. I don't have to use the aid of a walking aid. I'm delighted that I can drive as far as I need to drive. I could walk. I could walk up steps easily. And all those things are such huge accomplishments. But I think when I really look back, I think what's even more important is almost what I've learned about my body and learned how I need to cherish that as a gift. Our bodies really are something that, God has given us these bodies. And I think sometimes we abuse them and do things not purposely, but to really, I think I've been able to step back and understand that this body of mine is a gift and to be in tune with it and to nourish it and to really celebrate what our bodies do and how we could use those to do good things in the world.
Right. And how has the rehabilitation helped you in your profession? should talk about that because you're in the media yourself.
Yeah. So I oversee a digital media team, and so that could be everything from doing, crisis communication online to shooting videos, photography. And in the past, even though I have my team who's, doing the job of holding the camera, sometimes you need to pitch in. And for a while, it was really hard not to be able to hold a camera. And cameras get heavy, and so not having two hands to do that. And then even when I was down to one walking stick, to be able to balance a camera, it was so challenging. Just like, how am I going to do a good job? How am I going to hold this? How am I going to focus this camera? No matter how hard I try, most photographers out in the field are using both of their hands.
Right. And your job requires you to do a lot of traveling. That means flying. That means driving. That means walking. And so you've had to negotiate all of that.
Yes. And some days I'm grateful for places, at the airport, like for a while, I had to use the wheelchair just because the walk with the walker was just too long, And I remember one time in particular, I was using my walking sticks and I was such a fast, zippy person. And I saw this young woman walk and she was kind of zipping through the airport. And I just felt so sad. I was like, that's not fair. I used to be as fast as you. And so there are those days where you just like, okay, this is where I am. But it feels good now to know that I can navigate the airport much easier than I could have done 2 years ago.
Right. Your therapists and your doctors at Good Shepherd and elsewhere must really be thrilled with your progress and how well you've done. And I'm sure they give you the credit for it, although, of course, they helped you along your way.
No, and I owe so much to the creativity. That is one thing I think what I cherish in my therapist. She has gone everywhere to do additional trainings. She got trained in a special type of Pilates rehabilitation care because I needed to move my hip was turning in. And so she's like, we're going to get you in line. And so she went for a training, got trained, and it worked. Like that extra work that she did to study, to improve on her own skill and her talent, then she got to try it out on me, and it worked. But she took that initiative on herself. She determined, she was going to do everything. She gets creative with the technologies we use and the equipment to be able to really help me soar. And so I owe so much to them. And their love and dedication. They give it their all. When you walk into the therapy room at Good Shepherd, you see nothing but love and dedication in that room.
Boy, that means a lot, too. Those intangibles, that soft science, if you will, or the art of medicine.
Yeah,
right?
And especially, too, when you're looking at the variety of injuries. You could have someone like me, which for me, the result of the surgery, it felt like the world to me. But I could still full use of my hands, full speech, sight. I had all of those things. And I see people at Good Shepherd, and it almost moves me to tears when I think about like how hard some people struggle with their situations. And no matter, if it's someone like, my level or something that is just catastrophic, that same love is poured upon people there. And it really just, you want to do better because of that.
Right. And so what does the future look like?
So I think the future looks like, the future is full of hope, right? The future is full of hope. Will I get to, take my brace off and wear heels? God will only know that answer. But I think if I'm honest, I think that's going to be okay. Even if I have to wear the brace to the day I die, you know what? I am alive, and I am so grateful for this journey. So wherever this future is, I know that it's full of hope and full of gratitude.
Our guest today has been Sarah Yaklic. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your journey. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm sure it will resonate with folks who are just beginning their own journeys as well. That in itself is a gift to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. We appreciate your support. Check in with us next time for another episode of Boundless and more personal stories of perseverance, health, and wellness from Good Shepherd Rehabilitation.